Breathless. Forbidden, Book 2. Written by Susanna Thompson. Narrated by Lauren Sweet. Chapter 4. Cade walked us out to my car after the party. "You had the Mustang shipped here?" he questioned in surprise. "No, I drove it here," I informed him. He gaped at me. "You drove it all the way here?" "That's what cars are for," I remarked. "You drive them." "Why didn't you just have Dad buy you a new one here?" he asked in bewilderment. "He wanted to," I admitted. "But I already have a car, so I brought it with me." "Isn't this a new car?" Katie asked. "It looks brand new." "My stepfather took very good care of it," I said, not wanting to explain that he was wealthy enough to have a staff keeping it looking brand new. Cade's identical Mustang was back at the house, and he still drove it when he came home. I assumed that he also had a car in California. Judging by what he had just said, he had probably bought a new car here, too. "I'm going to go drop off Katie," I told him after she was seated in my car. "I'll see you soon." He didn't answer, but he stood watching me as I pulled out of the parking lot and drove away. I still felt sure of my plan, and I was starting to anticipate finally fulfilling the fantasies I'd had about Cade for the past 2 years. "I told him which party we were going to," Katie confessed. "I hope it was okay to tell him. You guys seem like you're getting along now." "Yeah, we are," I assured her. "It's okay that you told him. Anyway, did you have fun?" "Yes," she answered enthusiastically. "I'm so glad you talked me into going. You're the best roommate ever." I laughed. Part of her exaggerated praise was probably due to her alcoholic buzz, but she had obviously had a good time. I had made sure that she didn't get wasted, and I had remained sober myself since I was the designated driver. Therefore, I had nothing to take the edge off my nerves when I arrived at my dorm and saw Cade waiting for me in front of the building. "I'm here," he taunted me with a smirk. I silently walked past him, but he overtook me. "Let me get the door for you," he said in a smug tone as he brandished his ID card at me. I stood back and let him unlock the door, and he held it open and gestured for me to walk in ahead of him. 2 girls got on the elevator with us, both of them checking Cade out blatantly. He didn't even spare them a glance as he kept a challenging look fixed on me. He obviously thought that we were playing some kind of game of chicken and that I would soon back down. I still said nothing as we exited the elevator, and he followed me to my dorm room. When we were alone inside, he leaned against the door with a lazy smile. It faded as I purposely approached him and leaned in to kiss him. He groaned as I pressed myself against him while deepening the kiss. Just like in the past, we were quickly swept up in a frenzy of passion. Our positions had somehow become reversed, and Cade had me up against the door with my legs wrapped around his waist. My dress was hiked up, and he was grinding himself into my core. I was already building toward my climax. "Don't stop," I pleaded mindlessly. "Oh, yes, Cade." "Come for me, Lexie," he urged me as he kept up the delicious friction. I moaned as I crested wave after wave of pleasure. Cade carried me to the bed afterwards and gently set me down. He sat down beside me and placed his arm around me and smiled happily at me. "I'm glad you decided to give me another chance." I placed my hand firmly down on top of the bulge between his legs, and he sucked in a breath. "What are you gonna do with this?" I challenged him. "Lexie, we don't have to." "Do you want me or not?" I demanded. "Yes, but it doesn't have to be tonight if you're not ready. I loved seeing you come, so don't feel like you have to." I interrupted him again. "It has to be tonight," I insisted. "I want to do this now." He seemed taken aback for a moment, and then his sexy smile returned. "I didn't know you were so demanding, but I like it." "Less talk, more action," I said. He responded with a wicked gleam in his eyes that started my pulse racing again. You asked for it, he said, and tipped me back on the bed. He pulled up my shirt and shocked me by closing his mouth over my nipple right through my lacy bra. I gasped at the sudden sensation and then whimpered for more as he teased me by removing his mouth and rubbing the wet material with his finger. He toyed with the front clasp. Easy access. Were you planning this when you got dressed for the party? Yes, I answered. You wore this for me? He asked. You knew I would be there? No, I replied. I was going to call you afterwards and tell you to come over. And now you're here, so can we get on with it? But you were thinking about me? He pressed. What were you imagining, Lexie? Tell me your fantasy. I was thinking you would actually take my clothes off instead of talking all night. I snapped at him. He chuckled at my frustration. So impatient, he chided me. Don't you know it's better when you don't rush? He smirked at me, but my retort died on my lips when his gaze intensified. I want to hear those desperate moans, he said in such a sexual tone that my stomach dipped into freefall. All the control I had thought I had over the situation was gone as Cade drove me to the point of desperation. I'd expected a quick, frenzied hookup, after which he would go back to his own room. I'd never imagined that Cade would be capable of putting so much time and effort into my pleasure. He wasn't supposed to be such an amazing lover, and he wasn't supposed to stay all night. And I sure as hell wasn't supposed to still want him the next day, especially after having had sex with him 3 times the previous night. You have to leave, I told him, as his hand started to wander over my naked body. One more time for the road, he urged. I swatted his hand away and rolled out of bed to get dressed. You're just going on the elevator. He came up behind me and pulled me back against him. Yes, you in the elevator is one of my fantasies. Stop, I protested weakly, as his hand stroked between my legs. Emergency stop button. You leaning back against the wall like this. Me down on my knees in front of you. My mouth right here, he said, as he flicked his finger over the spot. I stumbled out of his grasp. No, I said more forcefully, even as I ached for his touch. We're done now. Let me just get you off before I go, he urged. I'm not gonna— No! You have to leave now. It's the next day, so we're done. I faced him and crossed my arms, although it was difficult to project confidence when I was standing there half naked with only a t-shirt on. He seemed to take me seriously, though, because his eyes narrowed at me. What does it matter what day it is? And what do you mean by done? It means you got what you wanted and that's it. We finally got it out of our systems, so we're done. He suddenly looked furious. What I wanted? I didn't wait for you for 2 years just for a one-night stand. I told you that I want to be with you. It was just sex, I stated. That's total bullshit, Lexie. I know you want more than just a hookup. Be my girlfriend, he urged. I was your girlfriend, I reminded him, but that meant nothing to you. So that's what this is about. Punishing me? I hardly think that having sex with you all night is punishing you, I retorted. You gave me a taste, and now you're going to deny me when I know exactly what I'm missing. His eyes slid hungrily down my body, making me aware again of my partial nudity. He was still completely naked, and I struggled to keep my gaze on his face. The way he was looking at me was arousing enough, and my erotic memories of the previous night weren't helping me to ignore Cade's effect on me. Be my girlfriend, he pleaded. I shook my head. No, we finished what we started, and we're done now. He exhaled in frustration. Okay, Lexie. Have your revenge. But there is no fucking way we're done. He started grabbing his clothes from the floor and putting them on, and I took one last look at his body before it was covered from my view for good. Then I quickly got dressed too, before Cade yanked the door open and stormed out of the room.